How many of you actively tried the hold your nose while you eat thing? It's not popular. How many of you actively tried to subdue or restrain sensory impulse? 4. Pretty good. That's pretty good. Breaks are not supposed to be during retreats. Breaks are not supposed to be breaks from sadhana. They're supposed to be continuation. I'll be more clear next time. So we're going to do a little bit of a process today. We're going to mix it. You don't have to mix it, but we're going to mix it today. And so the process I was saying was association, reassociating what it is that your mind thinks it sees through the senses. That can be done on your own however you want. So, I'll explain that in a second. And we're going to mix it with a little bit of a puja, which you don't have to do this way. To me, it doesn't matter if there's an object or not an object. It doesn't matter if it's a shivling or a tabletop. It doesn't matter if it's a plant or, a vase of water. It doesn't really matter what it is. So anything that you can recognize the divine in becomes a better holding point for that. For a couple reasons. If you see everything as God, then you wouldn't be doing this stuff anyway. But if you don't, but you see something, and for whatever reason, it's very powerful for you in terms of what it represents and what it is for you, then it's a good symbol to use. So it could be like a picture of something. It could be a statue of something. It could just be an element. It doesn't actually matter so much what it is. It has a lot to do with the way that your mind interprets things. You're playing with your mind. Your whole path, you're playing with your mind. You have a part of your mind that thinks high and big, and a part of your mind that thinks very small and tiny. The small and tiny parts don't feel very fulfilling. They feel very empty, very aggravating, very frustrating, very, lots of motion for not a lot of work or not a lot of gain. So they feel mostly just like a lot of busyness. And they feel usually just very active and lost in confusion. The bigger it is, the more of a sense of purpose you have, the more of a sense of alignment you have in your life, the more of a sense of rest, relaxation, comfort, pervasiveness. So the bigger the thoughts about what life is, meaning more unified versus more separated. The bigger the thought is, or the more unified the thought is, the more power it holds. So in your mind, the most unified thought is your most powerful thought. That's your healer thought in your mind. You have more than that, but if you're not conscious of it, you can't use it. So if I'm not conscious of, there being any other rooms on this house, then I won't use them. You have to be conscious of them in order to make use of them. So you may have bigger thoughts in your mind that you're not conscious of, so you can't use them until you're conscious of them. You can hope for them, pray for them to come through. But more than likely, you're not going to have any sense of contact with that energy until it actually feels more, once it's more experiential or consciously recognized, then at that point you'll feel like you have some touch-in point with it. So the littlest thoughts that you hold on to are the most separate. They're also the most destructive. They harm yourself, they harm other people, they harm just in the way that you live, they harm in the way that they think, they harm you in the way that you feel. They're harmful. I've made a lot of jokes about it in the past, but the ego, because it's separation itself, even if it says I love you, it's still pushing you away in order to maintain separate identity from you. And it says I love you. So it's got to make sure there's separation. So it loves you very much, but not all the way. It's got to protect itself. I have to exist. You have to exist. You're over there, I'm over here. You have to be separate. So there's this separative quality, in which we live. So when you're getting rid of this, you're not so much getting rid of love, you're getting rid of preferences that confine the love. So every little pocket of something within you, an energy, whatever name it goes by, you are essentially letting go of a pocket of separation that might even be like a good thought. It might be a loving thought. But when you let that go, you're allowing for even greater transformation to come through. The way it works energetically is essentially you let go of a negative thought, something less negative or neutral hopefully comes through. You let go of a neutral thought, something more positive comes through. You let go of a positive thought, something more positive comes through. And then eventually it becomes almost like a transcendental positive. And then then you start going through all the transcendental ranges of positivity or unification. So you're only dealing with the mind, and it's like a stretched fabric of understanding of how everything is one, and how, on the other side of the mind, how everything is pocketed and chopped into little pieces, and they're all separate bits of creation. That is your mind's doing. Nothing else is doing that. The world does not change before you let go of the dualities, and after you let go of the dualities. World will be the same. So the difference will be your experience of the world. And people may or may not change in how they see you, feel you, relate to you, act to you, react to you. It may be the same. So your goal isn't enlightenment so that everyone in the world is fixed, because you can't make them fix. Your goal can't be enlightenment, with like strings attached. I want enlightenment if, my family recognizes me as the chosen one, or something like that. It would be pretty far ridiculous, but some people think like that. Enlightenment's about no longer holding up the story of separation. So if I want to see two people as a part of the one, then I can't have any issues that separates the two people from the one or from each other and from myself. It's a lot of stories that creates, obviously. So when your mind decided, you almost might even feel like without your authorization, it just somehow did it. When your mind decided that there are a bunch of separate things that you have to react to, respond to, relate to, all circulating around the locality or the sense of self that says, what about me? How does this relate to me? As I was saying earlier. Then it just keeps the game going stronger, 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 stronger. The more you think like something, the more that will perpetuate, clearly. So if I wake up every morning and say this world sucks, everything's horrible, it's all bad, everyone's mean, I'm going to start thinking like that. And then over years, if I think like that every morning, middle of the day, if my friends start talking to me like that too, everything's horrible, it's all bad, I'm going to start believing it. So then sadhana is basically doing the opposite of what the mind naturally does when you let it go out of control. And you think how wonderful life is, how perfect life is, how beautiful life is, how everything's in the right track. It's all going in the right direction. And there is no problem other than the one my mind is making of it. Because you can't really rightly say what's a problem. Somebody may say something to you, do something to you in this lifetime, you might not like it, but you have no idea what your past karmic, trend has been in all of the lifetimes and all of the realms, not just earthbound lifetimes, but all of the worlds, all of the universes that you've, for, endless, time, you've been incarnating over and over and over again. You've tried on every single costume, every suit, every personality, every ethnicity, everything, every gender. You've done everything. You have nothing left to accomplish. There is nothing left to conquer. There is nothing left to read. There's nothing left to learn. There's nothing left to do other than it's all one. All sadhana and learning comes from stubborn minds. They don't want to believe that it's all one, so you have to convince them. That's where Dharma talks come in. If it were that easy to tell somebody it's all one and then they're done, then that would be the, hopeful wave of the future. But the way that it is that you say it's all one and it's maybe believed, but it's not experienced, which means it's not actually believed. It's believed conceptually, but not experientially. So what part of you is resisting? What part of you is fighting oneness? What part of you does not want to be unified? It's going to be the part that has to protect, the part that has to be, safe, the part that has to preserve. For all of its reasons it's got in its mind. Some reasons are as simple as, I don't want to be like that, like someone else. So I need to maintain some identity difference. I need to make sure I feel like me and I don't feel like them, so I don't want to lose that boundary of safety. So I don't want to feel like that, I want to feel like me. That is going to continue to haunt you for all of eternity. It never goes away unless you choose to stop, unless you choose to let it go. They are like you because they are one of your manifestations. They're not maybe one of your personal body's manifestations, but they're one of the cosmic mind, capital Y-O-U. They're part of your manifestations. So you better learn to love them. You better learn to accept them. If you have any problem with them, you cannot, ever realize the true experience of Shiva or Brahman or pick a term. So if you want to experience oneness, then all divisiveness has to go. If you want to experience oneness, you cannot look to the world through the senses, through the mind, through the ambitions, as a way to go conquer, get, collect, add to your life and your experience. It's a process of letting go this life. It's not a process of gaining more. It's not a process of ascertaining. It's not a process of collecting. You're not a collection bin, You're not a dust bin sweeping all the experiences into yourself. You are, if anything, the space that holds all of that, but unaffected by it.